You are Locked On Warriors Postcast, part of Locked On Sports San Francisco on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Yo, what's up, everyone, and welcome back to the Locked On Warriors Postcast. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel. You may know me as the former producer for the Murph and Mac Morning Show on KMBR, and tonight, the Golden State Warriors capitalized on their opportunity to move into sole possession of the 6th seed in the NBA's Western Conference tonight, defeating the Charlotte Hornets 119-101. A big turnaround at the end of the third quarter pushed the Dubs to this win tonight, and Buddy Hield was a huge part of it. He led the Dubs in scoring tonight with 22 points off the bench, and the Golden State Warriors are now 10-0 when Buddy Buckets scores 19 or more points. And really, all of the role players looked so much better tonight with Jimmy Butler back in the lineup, and they really shined in the non-Steph minutes. We'll break it all down, but first, I want to thank all of you for watching us on the Locked On Sports San Francisco YouTube channel. Please, if you aren't already subscribed, hit that subscribe button right now. Thanks also for listening on the Locked On Warriors podcast feed, and make sure to check out the Locked On Warriors Daily Show for more in-depth coverage. Charlie Walter does a great job. Tonight's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. And tonight, the Warriors, early on, the Hornets just kept hanging around, man. And a large part of that is because the Warriors couldn't buy a bucket from three-point range early in this one. They were just abysmal. They were like 3 of 13 in the first quarter, was not much better by halftime. They were 8 of 28. But by the end of the game in this one, the Warriors were actually 18 of 50. They chucked up 50 shots from three-point range, but that was good enough for 36% and just good enough for the Warriors offense to start clicking. They really turned it on, though, late in that third quarter, which brings us to tonight's turning point.
Time to reveal where the game was won or lost. It's the turning point.
And this game was won in that third quarter, the end of that third quarter and into the fourth quarter. The Warriors really turned it on offensively. The Hornets shrunk it to like a 2-point game in the second half of that third quarter. And the Warriors, they went on a little bit of a run to push it up to 11, get back into double-digit lead territory. But then the Hornets responded again and shrunk the Warriors' lead back down to 4. And I thought at that point, it was 3, actually down to 3. And I thought at that point, this fourth quarter might get a little sweaty. And in the last like three-ish minutes of that quarter, the Warriors went on yet another run. It was actually right when Steph came out of the game. Steph Curry came out of this game with 2 minutes and 30 seconds to play in the quarter with the Warriors up 3, and they just went on a run with Steph on the bench. It was the non-Steph minutes that really turned this one around, and wow, how different is that from what the Warriors did their last time out against the Sixers when Jimmy Butler it's not just a coincidence. Non-coincidentally, the Warriors in the non-Steph minutes against the Sixers, absolutely terrible. Tonight, with Jimmy Butler back in the lineup, the non-Steph minutes looked a hell of a lot better. The Warriors, really, Brandon Pajemski, Buddy Hield, all of the role players really pitched in there in that fourth quarter, that end of the third quarter into the fourth. Buddy Hield and Brandon Pajemski kept all of a sudden found their stroke from three-point range. Buddy Buckets finished with 22 points, and he had 5 of 9 from three-point range, 8 of 14 from the field. Buddy, a great outing tonight. He also pitched in 5 boards, 2 assists, and a steal as well. Brandon Pajemski, a double-double for the kid, 19 points, 10 boards, 3 of them on the offensive rebound category, and 4 of 11 from 3. So these guys both really did a great job making threes tonight when not a lot of other players on the Warriors could. Steph, he wasn't terrible, but he was 3 of 9 from 3, so he never really got it going. He finished with 21 points, but it was really the role players tonight that were the big difference in the Warriors in their performance tonight versus what they did against the 76ers. And Jimmy Butler, as we said, it is not a coincidence that with Jimmy Butler in this lineup, things got a lot different. To start that fourth quarter, it started with back-to-back threes from Pods and Buddy Hield. They kept scoring. They kept going on a run, pushed the lead to a game-high 15, and then kept ballooning it up from there. They ended up leading by 19 points in this one, in that fourth quarter, and they win going away, really. This one felt closer than the score looked like. It was a little bit sweaty, really, in that third quarter coming down the stretch, But ultimately, you get to rest some of your starters. You get Steph Curry only playing 30 minutes. You get Draymond Green only playing 28 minutes. And I mean, Jimmy Butler, who's just returning to injury tonight after dealing with the back spasms. Remember, he got crashed into by Wendell Carter earlier against the Magic last week and sat out over the weekend against the 76ers with back spasms. Played tonight and played well. Jimmy Butler, 13 points, 6 of 6 from the free throw line. And he also had 4 dimes, 3 assists or 3 rebounds, and he finished with a plus 15 plus minus. The Warriors, every single starter finishing in the positives from their plus minus, and in the positives in a big way. Draymond plus 20, Jimmy plus 15, Steph plus 13, Moses Moody plus 11, Pods plus 17. And I want to key in on Brandon Podziemski real quick, because this guy has not been having the greatest road trip as of late, and he really wasn't playing that great tonight early on. And then he in the start of the second half, early on, he looked like he banged his knee with the Hornets defender on the interior when he went to drive the lane, and he came up limping. He actually had to go to the locker room and get further evaluation, but we all know how tough Brandon Podziemski is. He made his way back into this game, no problem. And when he came back, it was like a light bulb all of a sudden clicked on in his head. All of a sudden, he had the stroke from deep, and Brandon Podziemski finished with 19 points. As we said, he was a big factor in that fourth quarter going away. Pods really helping lift the Warriors to this win in crunch time. And recently, he has been playing not very well. Like the way he's been finishing games, he has not been he has not been a positive in the plus minus category lately. So that's something that we're not really used to from Brandon Podziemski. Obviously, Steve Kerr loves having this guy, being able to use him in all sorts of different situations, calls him the great connector. And in that fourth quarter, Pods was connecting from distance. He went 3 of 6 from three-point range just in that fourth quarter alone. So those 3 big threes were massive for Brandon Podziemski. But also, as we said, Buddy Hield, man. Buddy, I think we got to come up with a new name for Buddy other than Buddy Buckets. We got to call him Buddy the Barometer, because when Buddy scores 19 plus points, when Buddy is playing well, it is an indicator of so many different things. And before we get into that, let's go ahead and hit the sounder. Tonight's player of the game.
This is the Locked On Player of the Game.
And tonight's player of the game, you already know, it's Buddy Hield. I mean, I didn't think that we'd be doing this show talking about Buddy Hield as the player of the game, but this guy, man, he is so erratic. But one thing is for certain, when Buddy is on, when Buddy's scoring points, when Buddy scores 19 plus, the Warriors win games. Tonight, no different. They're 10-0 now when Buddy scores 19 or more. And I mean, Buddy was really the big catalyst in that third quarter, that late third quarter run that stretched into the fourth quarter. Buddy was really doing it all for the Warriors, and he kind of got going early in this game. He was, again, much like Podziemski, didn't really seem like he had it early on. And then there was a transition play where Steph threw up a lob for Buddy Hield in the I believe it was in the second quarter, just before halftime. Buddy Hield goes up and made kind of like an awkward layup off the alley-oop from Steph. And you saw Steph run up to Buddy and flex and scream in his ear and just kind of get the joy flowing for Buddy Hield and Steph. And it's a huge part of the Warriors game. We've heard Steph talk about this relentlessly this season. When there's joy in this basketball team, in this locker room, this team plays so much better. And tonight, when Steph was infusing that joy into Buddy Hield after that alley-oop layup from Buddy, he had also made another inside bucket around that same time. And then immediately you see the three-point shot start falling for Buddy Hield. He needs to see the ball go in the basket, and then it just starts flowing. This guy gets so incredibly hot sometimes that he just can't miss from deep. And it's so funny to me because we have seen this season is just Buddy Hield's whole career in a microcosm so far. We have seen the best of Buddy Hield, and we have seen the worst of Buddy Hield. We've seen this guy dribble the ball off his foot in waning moments of close games and just spoiling final possessions where the Warriors got to have it. We've also seen him, like tonight, really just put the offense on his back for stretches when Steph's not in the game and just explode offensively. And tonight, 5 of 9, he hit 5 threes, man, leads the Warriors in three-point shooting. Anytime you do that when Steph is on your team, that is a great sign. In this came at the perfect time for the Warriors. The Warriors, I've been saying the last couple shows, we all had to root for the Lakers temporarily, and thank God that's over, because the Lakers, we don't need to root for them anymore. They did their job for Warriors fans. They beat up on the Timberwolves and they beat up on the Clippers. They win all three of those games that Warriors fans were hoping that the Lakers would win. And the Warriors tonight, even though they spoiled a chance over the weekend to climb into sole possession of that 6th seed, they had yet another opportunity tonight, and they did not let this one slip away. The Warriors now in sole possession of the 6th seed and are now officially out of the NBA play-in tournament and into the NBA playoffs. And now the task shifts from climbing the ladder to not falling down. You got to stay up in these top 6 teams. And I don't know if you guys have been watching around the NBA tonight, but they got a little bit of help out in Dallas. Kyrie Irving, scary knee injury to Kyrie. Dude goes down in a heap, and it does not look good for Kyrie out there right now. So you have to imagine the Dallas Mavericks are going to really struggle to kind of, overtake anybody without Anthony Davis or Kyrie Irving. But you're looking at teams like the Minnesota Timberwolves, who, by the way, have the easiest strength of schedule throughout the remaining schedule of the NBA season. But the Warriors, they're going to have every opportunity to maintain their spot as they own the tiebreaker over the Wolves. But the Clippers, man, the Clippers have the tiebreaker over the Warriors, and you have to make sure that you beat them outright toward down the stretch into the postseason, because the final game of this regular season is Warriors Clippers. So that could be a huge game looking ahead. We got a long way to go until we get there, though. The Warriors, looking at what's next for them, they got a back-to-back. So they're going to get on a plane right now and go out to New York and play the Knicks tomorrow night at 4:30 Pacific time out there in Madison Square Garden. Steph Curry loves playing out there in MSG. We already know Curry's history out there with his, historic scoring nights and et cetera, et cetera. But it's going to be a big game, man. That's a huge, huge, huge matchup. The Knicks, a very good team in the Eastern Conference. Jalen Brunson has been playing out of his mind this year. And honestly, Josh Hart too, like that guy, I don't think gets enough love from around the NBA. He does everything that you could possibly want. But before we get there, we got to go through how the Warriors did it tonight. And I know it's the Charlotte Hornets, and the Hornets are 14-46. They've lost 22 games at home this year. They're not a good basketball team. They had LaMelo Ball back tonight. One thing they didn't have the last time these two teams met, and he made his presence felt. He had 25 points, but he was 8 of 21 from the field. So the Warriors did a good job, of turning LaMelo Ball into a volume scorer. Miles Bridges also had some pretty good performances tonight. He had 9 rebounds, 35 points, but a -20 plus minus, the worst on the Hornets, aside from Nick Smith Jr., who had a -23. And the Warriors kind of just let Miles Bridges do what he was doing, because no one else on this team besides Bridges and LaMelo Ball was really doing a whole heck of a lot. In that first half, the Hornets could not really hit a three either. The Warriors did a good job of limiting them there, and then they didn't get much better in the second half. Charlotte finished 11 of 40 from distance, just 27.5%. They also didn't capitalize at the free throw line. They missed 11 free throws tonight. The Hornets did. Sounds a lot like the Warriors, man. Warriors, one thing that they did, again, really, really well tonight with Jimmy Butler back in the lineup. We saw both of these categories dip against the Sixers, but the Warriors 87.5% from the line tonight and only 8 turnovers. When Jimmy Butler is in the game, even if the stat sheet doesn't reflect it, that you can just look at 2 categories, turnovers and free throws, and you can see how much he just benefits the Warriors. And also, if we're looking at assists as well, Jimmy, I know he only had 4 assists tonight, but if we counted assists in basketball like we do in hockey, Jimmy would have easily had 10. The way that his passes set up other passes, like he'll pass and then go immediately follow the ball, set a screen, and the defense will roll and adjust to it. And then the ball handler will then kick the ball out to another open Warrior. And it's Jimmy that's setting it all up, even though he's not getting a single stat for that play because he made the pass before the assist. He is setting everybody up with his screens, with his precision passing, with the way he drives the lane and opens things up for other guys. Jimmy affects winning. He doesn't necessarily stuff the stat sheet every night, but he does affect winning. And the way you can tell this, look at the turnovers when Jimmy plays. Warriors only had 8 turnovers tonight, and they forced 17 from Charlotte. That is a big reason why the Warriors were able to kind of, weather the storm when they weren't shooting the ball well in that first half. They were able to still control this game. They actually led wire to wire in this one, even though at times it felt a little sweaty, like I said, in that third quarter specifically. But the turnovers really helped the Warriors. The one thing they didn't do a great job of is scoring off those turnovers tonight. They did beat Charlotte in that category. They had 16 points off of turnovers, and they only gave up 4. That means that this team is getting back on defense. Again, the Jimmy Butler effect. When you have a guy like Jimmy Butler or Draymond Green on the floor at all times, which the way that Kerr staggers their minutes, they usually have one of those two guys out on the floor if they're not out there overlapping together. You're always being held accountable. There's not a single play in this game where the Warriors defense can take a break and relax and kind of slouch off, because Jimmy Butler and Draymond Green are going to get after you to go do your job on the defensive end of the floor. And that is huge. We see the non-Steph minutes, the difference in the non-Steph minutes. As we talked about tonight, when the Warriors were trailing by just 3 points with 2:30 to go, Steph comes out of the game and they balloon this lead to a game high 15 before Steph comes back in. It's so obvious to me what Jimmy Butler does for this team. He adds so much, just so many winning plays in every single game, things that you're not going to see reflected in the box score. But if you watch the game itself, you see how much Jimmy really impacts winning for the Warriors. And man, I don't really want to watch the Warriors anymore without Jimmy Butler on this team, man. He has changed this whole complexion of this team from just, I mean, when they were down 17 or whatever it was against the Sixers, you didn't really think they had it in him to come back, or at least I didn't. When I was watching that game, they just didn't have the spunk, the tenacity as a team to rise up and overcome that challenge. The bench players, the role players just didn't seem like they were stepping up in the same way when Jimmy is not out there. But when he is, man, this team is firing on all cylinders. And again, they're fun to watch. I know it's the Hornets, but it's a get-right game. You can only play who's in front of you. I don't really care who the Warriors are playing for the rest of the year. I just need them to win basketball games. Stay out of that play-in tournament. That becomes the sole focus of this team going forward. It already pretty much was, but now you're starting to see how this team is really gelling, man. And you're not going to have to worry so much about Jimmy Butler and how he fits in. I think all those questions at this point are put to bed. It's not really a matter of a hot start anymore, as some people in Bay Area media have proclaimed, that this wasn't just this was just a hot start for Jimmy Butler with the Warriors, and that teams would adjust to what they're doing. I don't think so, man. I'm seeing some stuff that's really not that easy to adjust to in the NBA. I don't know how you can just stop the Warriors from holding teams to, again, Jimmy Butler comes back in. Look at what the Hornets do offensively. 101 points. That is, in today's NBA, if you're holding the team to 101 points in a full 48-minute game, you're doing something right. And with Jimmy Butler on this team, the Warriors do a lot of things right on the defensive end of the floor. The Hornets, as I said earlier, couldn't buy a bucket from three-point range, 27.5%. They also held the Warriors also held the Hornets to below 40% from the field. So tonight was a great night for the Warriors defense, great night for Buddy Hield. And all of these things translate to Steph being able to rest, to Draymond being able to rest 30 or less minutes for both of those guys on the front end of the back-to-back before you head to New York tonight and play the Knicks in a big game tomorrow. I am curious if Jimmy Butler is going to play tomorrow night, if that back is going to hold up for him. But we also are still sitting here with bated breath, awaiting the return of JK, Jonathan Kuminga. He did not play tonight, but it is reported, I have seen from numerous sources, that he might make his return this week. So keep an eye out for Kuminga. Hopefully he makes his way back to the court tomorrow night against the Knicks, especially if Jimmy needs some time to rest that back. We got to get into some more stuff on the other side. Draymond Green, man, this guy has been just playing out of his mind lately. We got to talk about Draymond Green on the other side. That's what's next on the Locked On Warriors postcast. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. And when the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started. And there's no better way to place bets and get in on that action than on FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Because with FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game. So even if you miss the opening tip-off or you want to bet on a fourth quarter comeback, you can stay in the action. And if you're looking for a bigger payout, you can even combine your live bets into a same game parlay. I love using FanDuel's live betting feature because it keeps every moment of the game exciting. Whether I'm backing my team for a late game rally or picking a player to hit a clutch three, I never feel like I missed my chance. Plus, the app is easy to use, and when you win, you get paid instantly. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Today's show is also sponsored by DoorDash. Hey, NBA fans, get ready. They swoosh, you save. Thanks to Dash Pass, every time a player drops 50 or more points in a game, you score a huge deal the next day. It's simple. When any player in the league scores 50 or more in a single game during the 2024-2025 NBA regular season, Dash Pass members get 50% off an order up to $10 off the next day from noon to midnight. And there are a few different ways you can take advantage of this. Maybe you got some late night cravings whenever the Warriors are playing late. I know I'm so locked in sometimes I forget to eat during the game. Then all of a sudden it's 10 p.m. and I haven't eaten dinner yet. I'm not going to cook something then. So maybe you just dial up the DoorDash whenever you're staying up late watching these highlights, or you just need a midnight snack. Use Dash Pass to grab something delicious while saving big. Maybe tomorrow you're excited for Steph going back to Madison Square Garden, where he has had some 50-point performances in the past. Maybe you're prepping with a game day feast, and after that epic 50-point performance, you want to celebrate by ordering wings, pizza, or burgers from your favorite spot delivered straight to your door. Sign up for Dash Pass and be ready to save when any player scores 50 or more in a game. Dash Pass members get 50% off an order the very next day, up to $10 off. Just use promo code NBA50 from noon to midnight after a 50-point game on eligible orders at participating merchants. Must have an active Dash Pass account. Terms apply. Visit DoorDash to learn more. Welcome back to the Locked On Warriors postcast. And tonight, the Warriors do a great job in this get-right game against the Hornets. 119-101 victory in Charlotte. I heard Molly call it the Curry Coliseum. It was kind of a clever thing there. I mean, obviously, Seth has played for the Hornets. Steph and Seth, both from Charlotte. Their dad, Del Curry, played for the Hornets. As we all know, it's been mentioned time and time again. But Steph, in the Warriors in general, Steph always plays okay out in Charlotte, but the Warriors just have a really hard time making threes out there. They, again, had a relatively hard time tonight, but got it going in the fourth quarter. Really kind of bailed them out from the 3-point line. It made their final slash lines not look so bad, 36% from 3-point range, but it took them 50 shots to get there, man. And through the first 30, they were not even close to that 35% mark. So the Warriors really turn it on in the fourth quarter, but man, there's one guy that we haven't really talked too much about tonight, and we should be talking about him more. Because it's going to be what the people are talking about.
This is what you'll be talking about.
And what all the Warriors fans are going to be talking about, I think, or at least they should be, is Draymond Green, man. This guy has scored 5 consecutive games of 10-plus points. And Draymond gets a lot of flack, man, for his inability to score. And if you're not a Warriors fan and you're not watching Warriors games, you probably don't see the value of this guy. If you're just a casual that's looking at the box score and going, oh, he got another triple single, you don't really understand the value that Draymond Green brings to a basketball team. His defense, his tenacity, is just his IQ, where he's always in the right place at the right time. The passes that set up other assists and things like that, his screen ability, all these things play into his game. That's what his whole game is predicated on. So when Draymond Green does get the ball through the hoop, when he gets it going especially from 3-point range. I mean, we saw Draymond hit 2 corner threes tonight. I mean, I'm not going to sing from the mountaintops when he goes 2 of 6 from 3-point range, but hey, Draymond Green, everyone loves to make fun of the backpack shot and all that. Well, Draymond, I mean, he's not, his shooting percentages are never going to be, Steph Curry shooting percentages. That's not who this guy is. That's never been who this guy is. But you look at what he's been doing. Another double-double tonight. He had 16 points, led the Warriors in plus-minus with plus 20. He had 13 rebounds, 4 of them on the offensive end, couple of steals, and 6 assists. This guy was everywhere tonight, man. And Draymond has been delivering the goods when he's been like lately in these last 5 games, double figure scoring in each one of them. And that's a huge lift for this Warriors team. I mean, whenever you get any amount of offense from Draymond Green, and I don't mean him setting up other people to score, whenever Draymond Green himself is able to get the scoring ball rolling, that's a very good thing for the Warriors. And the rest of the league should probably start to take notice of this a little bit, because Draymond Green, if he becomes a double-digit scorer for the Warriors consistently down this stretch, that also is going to make this team much more formidable, especially when they play better teams like tomorrow night, for instance, the New York Knicks. And you might say, it's the Hornets. Of course, he's going to score a few more buckets on the interior, yada, yada. I don't care about any of that, man. Like, you play who's in front of you. These are all NBA players. Draymond Green has been delivering as of late, and it's extra impressive because we know how Draymond Green usually teeters off in the second half of seasons with his scoring outputs. We have seen that over and over and over again in his career, especially the latter half of his career. I mean, we all see the big ice wraps that he puts on his knees when he heads to the bench. He is not, he's not 100% healthy at this point in the season. Nobody is. And man, tonight, speaking of health, how many Warriors were going to get banged up tonight? I mean, GP2 took a LaMelo ball, like LaMelo, when he was driving, just put his head down and inadvertently put the top of his head right into Gary Payton's face. Like, he was all bloody and stuff. It was a bad scene out there. Hope GP2 is all right. You saw Brandon Pajemski with that knee injury have to go to the locker room. He came back and played really well. And we saw Steph roll an ankle, man. Anytime you see Steph roll an ankle, you immediately start holding your breath, but he was able to run it off. He actually didn't come out of the game after he rolled it. He was able to play through that pain. But all of these things, those injuries, you start to feel them a little more after the game when that adrenaline starts to wear off. We will see if any of this lingers into tomorrow night against the Knicks. The Warriors are going to need, if they're missing Jimmy Butler tonight, they're going to need everybody else on deck. If you're missing Jimmy plus like a Brandon Pajemski or a GP2 tomorrow night, it's going to be a tough one to win for the Warriors. It's going to be a tough one to win no matter what. Back-to-backs are tough. Going to Madison Square Garden is tough. And the Knicks are a very good basketball team this year. You can, there's a lot of different opinions about Tom Thibodeau in this NBA lexicon. Some people really do like him, and a lot of people do not. And former players of his, Jimmy Butler, don't have very many good things to say about Tibbs and the way that he manages some personalities, kind of runs guys into the ground. The way he plays his starters is absolutely insane. It's very, he just plays them the whole game. I mean, it's almost like he forgets he has a bench sometimes. So it very much so runs guys into the ground. And this is the point in the season where some of that might start catching up to the Knicks. So hopefully the Warriors can take advantage of that. The Knicks, not 100% healthy either. As we said, no team right now is. So hopefully the Warriors can get going and do some damage out there in New York. That's going to be a big game for the Dubs. But tonight, they get right. If they had lost this game tonight, and in the third quarter, I did get a little nervous, man. When this game was a 3-point game, a 2-point game, late in the third quarter, I just kept thinking that this is one of those games, at least without Jimmy Butler, that the Warriors might lose when they start playing with their food with these bad teams and they play down to their level of play. Sometimes bad things happen for the Warriors, and tonight they're able to weather the storm. Jimmy, a big part of that in the non-Steph minutes. They balloon that lead from up 3 to up 15 plus when Steph is on the bench. That is a massive, massive, massive deal for the Warriors. Being able to get Steph some much needed rest in tonight's game, and Draymond as well. So the way that the Warriors won this game, very, very, very good to help set them up going forward into the rest of this road trip. They're now 2-1, got 2 more games left on this road trip. If they can win at least one of these next 2, I'm okay with this road trip. If they can win both of them, the Warriors are going to be sitting in a really good spot. And then maybe if they finish this road trip 4-1, we might be talking about the Warriors not just holding on to the 6th seed, but continuing to climb up the ladder in the NBA Western Conference standings. It's all the time that we got for you guys tonight. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel. Make sure that you check out our Locked On Warriors daily show for more in-depth coverage. And thanks for tuning in. We always love the everydayers tuning in. And thanks so much. Wouldn't be a show without the fans. So thanks for tuning in. We go live after Warriors Knicks tomorrow night, and we will be joined by special guest Paulie McCaffrey. Paulie Mack, one of my mentors in just the sports media industry. Like, I love Paulie Mack. If you aren't watching the Paulie Mack Particle show with him and Tony Ryan, you got to check it out. Two of my favorite dudes in the world. And I mean, two former coworkers of mine from my days at KMBR. I was obviously, if you know anything of the Triple E lore, you know that I was Paulie Mack's producer. I'm even wearing the Grateful Dead hoodie right now. I mean, it's Particles, man. Particles all over the place. So make sure you tune in for that show tomorrow night. Paulie Mack, an East Coast guy. It's going to be a great time. Not only a great game, but it will be a great show tomorrow night as well. So tune in for that. Until then, we'll see you next time. Peace.